All right, I'm gonna do my best to shoot this in both horizontal and vertical. I'm gonna try to keep myself squared here. We have a project, a pretty cool one. All right, folks, this is what we got. We flip. We have a set of FL5, my bad, Type R seats. That's all I'm going to show you. If you've seen me post a picture, you know. So this is what we got going on. We need to take these brackets off, right? We have a set of planted brackets for the Accord. Those will go on the car. They are molded to the car. All we need to do is take these off. That will leave us with a straight rail that will give us a universal mounting point. On the new FL5 seats, it is only the front that has these brackets. On the Accord or on most cars, you may have front brackets and rear. So you might have to do double the work on your OEM seat in this instance. But essentially, just take these off and we have a universal mounting point in different holes. We can put this on a race universal mounting adapter bracket, which I'll show you in a minute, and then you're good. You're off to the races. We have all our plugs. Only one I'm not going to utilize is this airbag plug, because I'm not comfortable. I don't want to be doing something and all of a sudden someone's getting in or out my car and it just self-deploys. So the hell with that. I will be utilizing the pressure sensor and the seatbelt sensor just to kill those noises. I just rather not have an instance where it's triggered on its own. I don't know how this is pinned out versus the OEM, if they would communicate. Until I know better off to just leave it the way it is. So I'm going to show you the brackets now, and poof. All right, here we have the seat brackets by Planted. There aren't too many companies right now that are making them for my car, but here you are. They fit driver and passenger side, and then they have the little tab here if you are going to run a harness or relocate the seatbelt buckle point. So at first I was using a oscillating tool saw to kind of cut down, but I think I broke it. It's only working when I hold it horizontally, not vertically. So I'm going to keep sanding this down. I believe I'm starting to see the outer edge of that rivet, because this is what's on there. These nice solid rivets. They're not welded on. And I think I'm starting to see the outer edge of that one. I need to go a little further, and then this will pop off. I'm going to spare you guys the pain of watching that. But I'm using one of these bad boys from Harbor Freight. This is basically a sander that's more narrow. So tune in. All right, so our foot or tab, whatever you want to call it, that is knocked off. Now we just got to knock these in, pop them out, because that rivet is on both ends. So we'll figure out how far. Hopefully it just drops out the bottom, but as you can see, now we have a flat surface from here to the end where we can mount our adapter plate on. All right, as you can see, both rivets have been knocked out. Very similar to a wheel stud in the regards of how fat they are right here. But it's essentially what it is. It's a high, I can't remember it. It's like a kind of like a rivet you would see on an old school boat, or even on how you would see them put I-beams together. It's really slow, and it's a kind of slow compression there. Really cool stuff if you want to look into that. I see guys trying to learn how to do that successfully, to do some modern updating, but you can see they kind of drop down there, so I got to figure out how to get those out. Other than that, that side is done. onto this side. So let's see what happens. All right, second side is off. Ugh. Those are technically still usable, and then I just got to knock these through, and we can start mounting this up to the thing that it goes on. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so feet have been removed, right? Here is our planted adapter plate. This is the driver's side. These are all numbered. So essentially, this would get bolted up like this, and then this will go in the car, mounted safely. So Planted does provide you with some hardware. So I'm going to be using this to mount the seats to their bracket, and I'm going to be using OEM hardware to mount the seat into the car. So we should be pretty good going forward. I'm going to just take a few minutes to see where I'm going to attach this to. Maybe throw some primer on these sanded parts and then go ahead and mount away. Alright, so this is where we currently are. The seat is mounted sideways. I put the two front bolts in. You do have to bend this track a little bit, and this is where you have to kind of get creative. Now on the rear, you're going to have to modify this. And yes, you can do this 7,000 different ways. I choose to do it with a Dremel. For the simple fact, I'm trying to go slow and do things once. And I went from this side with one of these diamond bits, and I kind of just followed the shape I needed to get through. I didn't want to flex and bend both sides in to fit the bracket because this bracket is meant for racing seats, not for a retrofit of a Type R into an OEM location. Now, choose to do what you want, but I know if you bend or torque these rails too much, you're going to have an issue sliding in and out. So this is what I did. I only opened up an existing hole a little bit wider to get my bolt through, and here's proof that it does go in. I didn't want to go too far, I didn't want to go too less, and I did not want to use a drill for the simple fact, if you fuck up, there's fabric on this side. So slow and steady, just made the hole a little bigger, and then we're going to mount this up, and then I'm going to rotate this and do the same thing on this side and try to retain the geometry of how the math works for these rails. So we're halfway there. These are on, they're not torqued, they're just on there snug, and I only flexed them enough to get at least the front down, and I'm doing the rear. So continue watching. So some of you are probably asking, Alex, why don't you just use one of those whole expander maker things? The reason why I won't do that is because you actually end up making the first hole you need to go through much bigger than the hole you're intending to make. Sometimes, you know, if you can get in from the back side, you're good, but if you're going through the front, you accidentally end up you sacrifice the initial hole that you need. So that doesn't work. Yeah, drill bit can work if you have a nice metal drill bit, but once again, you end up potentially making one of these slots a little ugly. You know, you end up making it wider. Yeah, no one's going to see it, but that's preference, right? So I use the Dremel, the nice diamond bit, and I cut in there. So we are completely mounted. We're mounted there. The seat has been unbolted. It has been unplugged. There are 3 sets of plugs. Yellow is airbags. The big bulky plug is your power to your seat, and the smaller one is for your seatbelt. And those are the only 3 on there. On the Type R, it's very similar, but you're going to have to do some wiring. If you don't need the seat, you can cut the plug off of there and make a nice, easy plug and play setup. These seats are not powered, so it's a much simpler harness. You have your seat belt, and you have your passenger awareness wire, and you have your airbag. This is not a powered seat, lot less cabling. So I am going to cut the plugs off of this seat that is no longer working properly, and I'm going to make a nice simple plug and play harness where I'm not having to worry about, did I affect this seat, just in case I want to resell this seat. The OEM seat I'm not particularly worried about because it is a malfunctioning already. Let me remind you, this is a heavy big boy. There's lots of grease, at least in mine, under the seat. That is Alcantara that we're going to be putting in here. You want to make sure your hands are fairly clean. I have some a waterless cleaner, and I had a towel somewhere. It's probably inside, but we're going to do our best to try to keep our hands clean removing this and bringing the new one in. All right, and there she is, boys. She's in, not bolted, but you can see here, thanks to planted in their seat brackets, we are basically on our OEM mounting locations, and we just have to bolt up. She is mounted, car's running. You have your recline, and you have your up and down. Okay, this is how the rear looks. I will have to do some cleaning. The seat does have its own bracket or tab right there to put the seatbelt buckle on there. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet, but it is an option to have that buckle in place. For right now, I'd rather it move with the seat. Thank you for watching. This has been a real cool experience. If you have any recommendations on how I can clean those seats to make them a little more brighter, please let me know. And if you have any ideas of what I should do with the old motorized seat, please drop a comment. Until next time, I am going to close up and worry about the next chair another day. Today has been quite the adventure. Peace.